This lesson I'll teach you how to use the zip command to archive and compress and decompress files in a Linux-based system. So you might know the zip format. It's widely used if you come from Windows. In the Unix world, they would typically have tar files that would then be compressed with, for example, gzip or bzip2. But you might be from a different kind of system where they usually use zip files. So let's see how we can make zip files and extract zip files in Linux. The command is going to be zip, and the one for decompressing is going to be unzip. Very simple, very similar to dealing with tar files and gzip. So let's get started. Here I have a file structure with some files. I have notes.txt and sample.jpg, for example. Let's say I want to add that to a zip file. How would I do it? Simply do the following. You say the zip command. Now you have to say the name of the zip file you want to create. Let's say my zip. And you can add the extension here, .zip, if you want. And then you have to give the file names you want to add in this example. Let's say notes.txt space sample.jpg. So at the end would be a list of files or one or a directory and so on. Now let's see what it created. It created a file called myzip.zip. If you want to check the contents of that, we can use the -l option. So unzip -l with myzip.zip, and it will tell you what it would be extracted if you were to actually run unzip. So there's notes.txt and sample.jpg inside. That's nice. Let's try to add the directory here. Let's say I want to try zip. So one thing with zip is if you want to add more files to the existing one, you can just say zip, name of the existing zip file, and the files you want to add to. You might want to contrast that with tar, because I think tar, if you were to use it, it would actually replace the whole thing with a new set of files instead of appending. So be careful with that. You might want to check that out first before doing anything important. So let's add dir1 to the zip file. I'm going to say zip. What's the name of the file? myzip.zip. And what's the file or directory I want to add? Directory 1. Now, you might notice something weird. The length of the directory there is 0. And it seems it's empty. And that's because we have to actually recurse over the files inside that directory if you actually want to add to the zip file. So if you were to do it again, you have to use the -r option so it can actually go through this everything inside dir1 because it's a directory. So use the -r if you're dealing with adding directories. So now you can see the output added notes.txt, sample.jpg, and image.bmp from the directory dir1. And if you do unzip -l myzip.zip, you can see it's actually there, not just the empty directory, right? So be careful with that. Don't forget -r if you want to add a directory to the zip file. And notice the other files remained. It didn't replace everything with just dir1. That's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so let's see. So zip, when you use zip, it archives and compresses the file. So it's kind of different when you use tar and then gzip, for instance, because in Linux the standard way would be the first archiving, so you can combine all bunch of files into a single file, and then after that you do the compression to actually reduce the file size. But when you do zip, it does those two things kind of simultaneously at the same time, so you don't have to separate that process. Okay, so let's try to extract my zip into a new directory. I'm gonna make dir dir2. I'm gonna cd to dir2, and there's nothing here yet. I did ls. I want to extract the contents of my zip that's one level up to this current directory. So I'm gonna use the command unzip. Now I have to specify the file. The file is one level up, so I'm gonna say // myzip.zip, and let's see what happens if I do like that. So it said archive, inflating, creating, and so on. If I do ls of the current directory, it's actually here now, the contents. Let's do a listing recursively -lr to see what's inside dir1. So dir1 actually has the content we wanted. Image.bmp, notes.txt, sample.jpg, which are different from the ones on one level above. Okay, if we cd ... to go back to one level, one directory up the tree, we have my zip still there, no problem. Okay, so that's how you use the zip and unzip commands to compress and decompress zip files in a Linux system. If you like the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.